Wrong man, big mistake, a cop's shocking lesson. It was a rainy evening in the heart of the city. The streets glistened under the glow of streetlights, reflecting the neon signs of bustling shops and restaurants. Officer Jake Reynolds had been patrolling the neighborhood for years, but tonight, something felt different. He wasn't in the best of moods, and every little thing seemed to irk him. He was parked near a quiet, upscale cafe, sipping his lukewarm coffee, when he noticed a man walking slowly down the sidewalk. The man was dressed in a simple navy blue overcoat, a scarf wrapped neatly around his neck. He didn't seem to be in a hurry, nor did he appear nervous. But something about him unsettled Officer Reynolds. Jake narrowed his eyes. Suspicious behavior, he muttered to himself before stepping out of his patrol car. The man continued walking at a leisurely pace, unaware that Officer Reynolds was now tailing him. Jake finally decided to make his move. He strode forward, his boots splashing through puddles, and called out, "Hey, hold up a second." The man stopped and turned, his expression neutral but curious. "Is there a problem, officer?" he asked in a calm, composed tone. Jake frowned. He hated when people acted too confident. Made him feel like they were hiding something. "I need to see some identification," he said, his voice firm. "You're acting suspiciously." The man raised an eyebrow, clearly surprised. "Suspicious? I was just taking a walk." Jake folded his arms. "Not at this hour, not in this neighborhood. Let's see some ID." The man sighed, reaching into his coat. "I have no problem with that, officer." He moved slowly, making sure to keep his motions visible. But before he could even pull out his wallet, Jake reacted. He grabbed the man's wrist, twisted it behind his back, and shoved him against the cold, wet brick wall. The man grunted in pain. "Hey, what are you doing?" he protested. "Hands behind your back, now," Jake barked, pulling out his handcuffs. "Resisting won't do you any favors." The man inhaled sharply, but remained still. "I'm not resisting. This is completely unnecessary." But Jake wasn't listening. He snapped the cuffs onto the man's wrists, ignoring the gasps and murmurs of onlookers gathering around. The rain poured harder, drenching them both. The man stood still, his expression unreadable, while Jake pressed his radio. "Dispatch, this is Officer Reynolds. I have a suspect in custody on suspicion of trespassing and loitering. Requesting a unit for transport." For a moment, there was silence, then the radio crackled back to life. "Reynolds, what suspect? We didn't get any reports. What's going on?" "I'll explain later. Just send backup," Jake muttered, tightening his grip on the suspect's arm. Before Jake could process what was happening, a sleek, black luxury sedan pulled up in front of them. The driver, a tall, sharply dressed man, stepped out and immediately rushed towards them. "Sir, are you all right?" the driver asked, ignoring Jake entirely. Jake's grip loosened slightly as confusion flickered across his face. "Wait, who are you?" The driver turned to him, his expression unreadable. "You just made the biggest mistake of your career, officer." Jake scoffed, about to retort, when the man he had just handcuffed finally spoke up. "Release me. Now." His voice was calm, yet there was an undeniable authority in it. Jake hesitated. "Not a chance. You're under investigation." The man let out a slow breath, clearly trying to keep his composure. "Then allow me to introduce myself. My name is William Carter, and I own half the buildings in this city, including the police station you work in." Jake's heart stopped. He stared at the man, blinking as the words sank in. William Carter, the billionaire investor, philanthropist, and one of the most influential people in the country. The same man whose donations kept the police department running smoothly. The onlookers murmured louder. A few took out their phones, capturing every second of the unfolding disaster. Jake swallowed hard, and this has to be a mistake. Carter's eyes darkened. "Yes, And you just made it. Within minutes, another police unit arrived. Sergeant Claire Thompson, one of Jake's superiors, stepped out of the car. Her face was unreadable as she assessed the situation. "What the hell is going on here?" she demanded. Jake, still visibly shaken, stammered, I thought he was suspicious." Carter cut in smoothly. "Sergeant, I'd like to file a formal complaint for unlawful detainment and harassment. Your officer here thought it was a good idea to treat me like a criminal without cause." Sergeant Thompson's jaw clenched. She turned to Jake. "Is this true?" Jake was at a loss for words. "I didn't know who he was," he admitted, his voice barely above a whisper. "And that gives you the right to throw someone against a wall and handcuff them?" Claire snapped. "What the hell were you thinking?" Jake lowered his gaze, guilt creeping in like a slow-moving storm. Sergeant Thompson turned back to Carter. "Mr. Carter, on behalf of the department, I sincerely apologize. I can assure you this will be handled accordingly." Carter nodded. "I expect it will." She turned back to Jake. "Hand over your badge and gun. Effective immediately, you're suspended." Jake's stomach dropped. "Wait, what? Sergeant, please." "You're lucky you're not being arrested right now," she cut him off. "Now hand them over." Defeated, Jake unhooked his badge and gun, placing them hesitantly into her outstretched hand. Around him, the crowd had grown. People whispered among themselves, shaking their heads. "You need to learn the difference between law enforcement and abusing authority," Carter said. "Next time, think before you act." Jake could do nothing but stand there as Carter was escorted back to his luxury car. The billionaire gave him one last glance before the door shut behind him. The rain continued to pour as the car disappeared into the night. And just like that, Jake Reynolds realized his career had just crumbled beneath him, one bad decision at a time.